It's here. There, if you'd like, we can start this evening with continuing business of the board. HPC 01-2024, 165 Main Street, Open Door Medical Centers. Applicant is seeking certificate of appropriateness for proposed facade changes that include windows and rooftop mechanical screening.
Yes, let's continue. Okay. So would the applicant or the architect for the applicant, we should talk.
Michelle Noe from Open Door, and we have Rob Masters, the principal in charge of the project from Canon Design here. And I have some samples that Rob can direct me when he wants me to show them and how he wants to do this, so.
All right. We'll leave it up to Rob.
Oh, great. Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for the opportunity to come back and represent. I think our goal this evening was to focus in on the comments received from our last presentation, where we were focusing in on both the final colors for the rooftop mechanical equipment enclosures, and responding to the from the comments from the commission with regard to matching the building. So we have prepared a number of scenarios, and we have some samples and photos that Michelle can share that focus in on how we have proceeded with regard to that. So you can see here, looking at the existing conditions, as we've reviewed previously, with the existing mechanical equipment shown on that adjacent roof plan. And so we'll go through a series of options here. This first option is looking at an enclosure utilizing a putty color for both the panel system and the trim. We have modified the configuration of the panel, and we've upgraded and enhanced the cap trim so that we could kind of respond more effectively to the vernacular of the buildings and to some of the adjacent rooftop structures on adjacent buildings. So this gives us an option to utilize one of the manufacturer's standard colors, and we're using that same color for the panel and the cap trim. And I will note that we had, and I think was presented previously, that we've revisited the sizing of the enclosures to really try to minimize them to the highest degree possible as it relates to the size of the mechanical units, and that's true for these two rooftop units on the upper roof, as well as the mechanical screen on the lower roof adjacent to the aqueduct as well. I think if we scroll forward here, we are looking at an option where I believe this is the option where we've attempted to color match the main panel with the existing building. We have confirmed with the manufacturer that it is it is possible for us to match it. We're also, so we've matched the panel color to the painted masonry, and then we're also looking to match the cap trim to the trim elements on the building as well. So we're combining the yellow of the brick with kind of the off-white of the trim, and trying to make a much more compatible palette with the existing building, recognizing that the building is painted, and that if we were to change the color scheme in the future, obviously we'd need to address that as it relates to the mechanical screen panels as well. And then I think the last option here was to try to utilize more of that kind of off-white color, which is indicative of the cast stone and the trim in the building. Again, to try to respond to contextual colors in the building, but to take more of a kind of a neutral, a baseline neutral approach to the color, so that we could not necessarily marry it to the brick masonry painted color, but still respond to the building and try to create something that was was a neutral palette that would try to minimize the massing of the screened enclosures. I believe that on each of those, so these are some additional views. I think we go through the same three options. I think you're looking at the putty, if I'm not mistaken, and then I think the next option is the color matched option, and then finally kind of the off-white option. And I think we roll through those same three options in the next three views, where we're looking at the low roof.
May I interrupt, Rob, for a second?
Of course.
Am I the only one? But I find it's hard to discern differences in those three color options.
Yeah.
Maybe if they were side by side, I'd understand how they're changed from each color. I thought it very subtle, but if nobody else has a problem with it, then
An example, I mean, I don't know if this is.
well, that might be good then. Thank you.
I tried to capture,
Now, are you making a recommendation as to which of the three to take?
I have 4 copies.
Well, I think our feeling is that the most contextual option from the three is the color matched panel, and then the off-white trim, which I think in terms of blending with the existing building, I think that does the best job of marrying the masses of the enclosure screens to the color palette and the aesthetic of the base building. So we think, having reviewed them, that really gives us the best opportunity to marry them together. And I think our only reservation there, and we want to explore it further with the manufacturer, is just to confirm that if Open Door was to look to change the color of the masonry paint in the future, that we have the ability to maintain that color matched option with the custom panel, without introducing a finish that is that may potentially have a maintenance issue.
As a panel.
So, this is a sample of what the panels look like, but the ones that we will be using will be corrugated. They don't have a corrugated sample, so this is just.
Corrugated and perforated.
It's perforated and it's
And-
corrugated.
yeah.
I can just show you the perforated, you can't get the corrugated, but this obviously doesn't have the color. So the existing colors of the building are this one, Monterey white is the yellow, believe it or not. Shiner white is this one, that's the trim color. And then the blue is called Saratoga Springs, which is this blue. So those are the 3 colors. the samples we were able to get are the putty that was recommended initially, which interestingly enough, when you're actually in the field, you can see from the pictures, looks not that different from the yellow, depending on the light of the, the exposure. But it's obviously not the same exactly as the Montgomery light, which is the actual color. And then this is also a standard color from them, and this really matches the trim color very closely. This is alabaster, it's called, so it looks very, very close to that here and in the light. Then you can see that in the picture. So Rob, I think you're talking about the Montgomery white, if I'm understanding correctly. The latest version from you is the match of the custom color paint with the trim color on the top. Is that what
I think I think our feeling is that the custom color match of the panel and then the white of the trim gives us the best matched option for the enclosures. Although to Michelle's point, we have found that the putty as a manufacturer standard color is quite close to the yellow. And so, that was, I think, our original intent was to use the putty with the white trim. And I think that keeps us in the manufacturer standard range, and gives the opportunity to have flexibility of a neutral palette for the future.
So is this the view? I can see.
This is the custom.
Is the corrugated panel gonna be the color that matches the brick, and then are you having the horizontal trim match the lintels? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, that's what
That's correct.
It is very, very,
Right.
obviously tough to follow that from looking at the image.
So Dan,
Yeah,
this is that Montgomery white, which
Yeah.
is the yellow, and this is the putty of the trim.
yeah.
So I need that color
I think
combination.
it is subtle and it's high up on the,
I mean, is there any reason?
And you're trying to match it with a computer rendering, so I mean, you can only
Right.
get so close.
Well, I know.
Exactly.
So my point is, I'm looking at the image and it's essentially monochromatic. So why not just keep it all the same color? Like, that's my question.
Oh, you mean the top and the?
Yeah, the horizontal trim, just make it as anonymous as you can. It's just a big box, and if you have a lines there and the trim is the same color as the perforation, then does that make it easier or tougher for you? I'm gonna ask that question.
I think that's fine. And that was, frankly, I think that was our original approach. We wanted to explore some more contextual options to just verify if we could get closer in terms of responding to the building. But we don't disagree that if we went with, particularly if we went with the manufacturer's putty option, which is quite close to the yellow brick, and we just use that color for both panel and trim, I think that gets us a good neutral palette that that can respond to the building as it may evolve over time in terms of the aesthetic.
I'm sorry, the image I'm looking at, is that putty?
Yeah, that's the putty with.
That's what I'm trying to make sure everyone can see the label. So this is the third one down. This is putty panels and trim.
Yeah.
The second one is custom color panel plus putty trim. And the first one is custom color all the way.
All yellow, I see. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, well, I mean, should we just, if there's something, well, we should let you take us through the rest of the presentation, so please continue, thank you.
Sure.
That was from here, right?
Yes. So that's where we landed with the various views of the individual panel enclosures.
It's monochromatic yellow.
So that's a custom, that image is all custom?
That's that's matching the brick for both.
Yep.
And this is matching the brick with the panel and then a putty trim. So trying to respond to the lintels. And then I think this one is this was all the putty. So this is kind of trying to just go as neutral as we can and, allow them to be as kind of light and innocuous as possible.
And then one day, if you ever repaint the building, I guess you could always match it better to the putty. You paint-
Absolutely. That would absolutely be an option.
Okay, is there anything else in the presentation?
I think here I think we maintained the window replacements that we had tracked previously, replacing the glass block at the kind of the stair vestibule, and then also matching out the water table and matching the adjacent windows at the glass block restoration on the east facade. And I believe you had seen these in the last presentation, but we also then looked at the kind of transom inspired divisions to the storefront replacements along Main Street, where we were responding to both some of the existing aspects and geometries of the existing facade, kind of picking up on the existing transom, and also responding to some of the historic dimensionality of original storefronts in downtown Ossining. So trying to kind of break that geometry down and respond back to both the building and also kind of the historic context.
What's the new landing made of, on the image to the right? I don't remember talking about that last time. Is that the gray material I see? Yeah, is that what's new, the gray, whatever that is? And like,
New ramp or is that?
yeah, what is this, is that the new? It's a brick new too? I can't remember.
Bricks exist. You can see the
Yeah,
bricks.
the brick is existing, and I believe we were as it related to the modifications on the interior and the dimension that we had to work with at the exterior, that we were looking to create that new landing and respond to that existing infill at current grade level. So it's really just it's a concrete landing.
Oh, so it's meant to be concrete. That's what my question was.
So it's new.
So it's new. That's the new part of it, the concrete.
Correct.
And okay. And is there anything else, Rob, in your deck?
I think that's all. I think that's all that we had included. We just showed here the elevations of the window replacements and putting them in context with the existing facades.
Am I wrong in recalling, I think I even made a note of that too, that there was a question about, and maybe these drawings didn't address it, the height of the equipment
Yeah.
behind
Yes.
the
So
panels?
it's shown, like behind, if you go back up,
Yeah.
the dimensions of the actual.
Yeah, you-
Oh, there it is.
Behind the
Okay.
screen.
Right.
So are the screens the same height as they were last month?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this was sort of some of the information that was missing tonight,
Right.
giving you context.
To see, yeah.
Just like a big block, but what does the equipment behind it look like?
Can we go back to the street view photograph or one of them? Towards the beginning. That one's good, yeah. So this one, Rob, I agree with your initial assessment that it keeps more with the vernacular to have the trim be slightly different color than the panels and have the panels match the building. Because if you look at all the buildings downtown all over Ossining, they all have some kind of different colored trim.
Yeah.
And so it does, while it does sort of call more attention to them, it feels more in context with the rest of the village. And I think
Maybe right there in the building 2 doors down.
yeah, same thing.
Yep.
So I think this one's the most successful of the three you're proposing.
So are you saying the putty panels and the lintel, stock lintel colored paint for the trim?
No,
What is that?
no, it's the it's the Montgomery white, which is the yellow
Yeah,
of the panels. And then the stock putty for the trim, because that stock putty, you can't tell the difference between that and the existing one.
So that's this one.
but
Option two.
instead of the white color, there was also the option to just have the custom paint that matched the brick. That's not as that's not as appropriate in yours. I'm just trying to
Are you talking
clarify.
about the field or the trim?
I'm talking about the perforated panels.
Perforated panels, yeah,
What color would that be in your view?
matching the brick.
Oh, so that's the
That'd be
custom
contract
color.
wire, but I would say differently, I would go with the alabaster, it's a trim on top,
The alabaster,
the alabaster.
the
Right.
lighter color, yeah.
Maybe,
As a trim color, because if you look at the elevations here, you've got the white lintels above the windows there, you've got wider offset at the top of the.
And then put that picture, so it's all that, so that's just the trim. And I agree that just custom paint, I think would be the best option.
okay, so
Get treatment of the canopy.
the custom paint, Rob, is available for the perforated panels, right?
Yes.
And then, so are we in agreement? It could be, the perforated panels could be the custom to match the brick, or is there still a strong opinion? Like, tell us if there is, that it should be something else? Okay, so if you could do this, the custom color, we appreciate that for the panel. And then I guess the only issue left is the trim, with the horizontal trim we're talking about, the sort of like cap.
Corners, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So the question is it the same color as the perforated panels, or is it a contrast? There's been discussion and recommendation that be a contrast, and they understand that. So then, do people agree there should be a contrast, and if so, what color should it be? And
I
do we have a consensus on what it could be?
The alabaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alabaster.
Okay,
That's what I think he has shown up there.
all right, alabaster trim
If I remember, yeah.
and custom.
Yeah.
Panel color.
But if you can go to the roof plan showing the units. From the internet. Forward. Great one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's really no way to push those monsters back, Eddie? Away from the
Yeah.
sun. From-
So we've
I'm kind of sitting on acoustic bases, but you know, you can still run exposed ductwork to where they gotta go down. Versus where you gotta
Well, do we want to,
pick the box.
It's the structure.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
just go all across the roof, I mean, it's.
So the intent of the location, so for the ERU1, which is in the lower left, we are, we've located that specifically in coordination with the structural engineer and the spacing of the structure beneath, so that the ductwork can penetrate into the building effectively, given the configuration of the existing structure. The ERU2, which is on the upper left, we've located that, we've back justified that as much as we can to the existing bulkhead structure that you can see there. It's basically that rectangle that is that's just to the north of it. So we've justified it as far back from the building face as we could, and as it turns out, it's more or less aligned with the ERU1 enclosure, but that is kind of the limiting factor to the north side of that one. And then we've coordinated again the duct penetrations accordingly.
yeah, you're saying essentially it is what it is. I mean, this is where you're saying, Rob, it has to be if you want to have an HVAC system that the engineers endorsing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in coordination with both structural and mechanical engineers, we explored as many options as we could, and this is where we really needed to land the units in order to make the design feasible.
To Jason's point, though, will there still be any exposed ducts running horizontally anywhere?
No, the duct penetrations will be captured beneath the units, and we've specifically aligned with the structure underneath so that we can drop into the building. So there will be no exposed ductwork outside of the screened enclosures.
I think that's a plus, a positive, you know, as opposed to trying to move the units possibly and then having a lot of ducts possibly moving.
You only have two.
Well, anyways,
What is,
it's not
what is
happening,
the,
so.
But they
what
would
is
be
the
lower
existing
below
structure? Yeah,
the existing parapet wall there.
right. If they were, if they could get us, if they were side discharge, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If they're, what's the existing structure made of?
So it is it's a framed assembly, and this at 165 Main, it's a wood framed assembly, so we're responding to that existing structure.
Okay. Unless there's something else, Jason, I think it's clear they're not able to change it at all. At least that's what they're saying. I think it's nice that they kind of align on the southern front, the lower and the upper unit. That's kind of nice. I don't know if that was a change or was always like that. Did we make any progress since the first presentation to this one in terms of minimizing the size of those panels? I forgot if the bulkheads were reduced a bit in height or length or width.
We did actually, and in particularly as it relates to ERU1, we were able to reduce the panel height and bring that down in response to the height of the unit. But ultimately, in each case, we tried to minimize the height of the panel based on the panel sizes available and then the height of the unit. So we really tailored the combination of the panel heights so that we could get as close to the height of the unit tops as we could in each location, and we tried to be very specific between the three units.
Okay, so some progress was made. That's good.
What is happening at that? Is that a parapet wall by ERU one that the enclosure goes over and around?
Yeah, there is a low a low parapet there, but it is beneath the height of the acoustic base that the unit sits on. So the screen basically extends over it, but the unit sits to the east of it.
Yeah,
So we're kind of hard up against that parapet, and because we're able to extend over the top of it with the screened enclosure, we can create that overlap.
It's not in the way of the screen.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Where's the roof access? How do you get onto the roof?
Looks like
We-
either
A bunch of panels. I think
there's
the
a couple of
hatches.
hatches over there in the corners.
Right. Hatch.
One in the lower left, one in the upper right, I think. Is that right, Rob?
So there, yeah. Well, the lower roof we could come out on. You can see the door that accesses it there in the northeast corner.
Right.
Yeah, the door.
I see.
And then there's a hatch on the upper roof, it looks like.
I see two hatches. Okay. Different, yeah.
Okay. So, did we reach a consensus then on the color, the custom paint to match the brick and the alabaster trim, which is a stock color for the horizontal component? And, I guess there's nothing more to be said about the size of the enclosures or its location. It seems like we appreciate you've made progress since the first presentation to reduce the bulk of it. And, seems like, you know, certainly looked into it and this is the best it can be, and we appreciate the improvement. Do we have to go on now to the windows? Is there anything to discuss about the window in your presentation? I don't remember now if that was a change from the last presentation. We actually had a note about that. We wanted.
I think the first presentation, they basically, mimicked what was there originally.
Yeah.
Or currently, and offered up the opportunity to, bring a little more pedestrian feel to it versus just, the giant piece of plate glass.
Right. So is this now the current recommendation?
It is. So the units on the, yes, the units on the right-hand side demonstrate the departure from the existing configuration.
Right?
And, and show the both the change in the location of the vertical members, as well as the introduction of the kind of the transom geometry at the top of each of the two replacement components.
So basically what you see on the left was what's there now, but they were going to originally replace it with was something exactly like what's there.
Can you scroll up? Yeah, okay, sorry, it's Jason. Can you scroll up a little bit on that? Yeah, these, two different windows, right? Okay. So now the recommendation is for this transom type pattern and on both windows. Do any comments on that? Anybody have any comments?
I think that looks good.
Good.
A little more pedestrian feel.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah, it breaks down the scale
Right.
very nicely, so I think it's nice.
Great. Okay. We talked about also that entry, that's going to just be a concrete pad there. So we have no objection to that. And then there was the,
I just got a
Oh, go
question, is it a
ahead.
step or is it a ramp?
it's a step. And I assume it's going to be up to the building department to determine whether that's ADA appropriate or,
Yeah, that's
Up
what my
to
next
code.
question was,
but it's not
is there an ADA accessibility into the building present?
Yeah,
that's
that's part of.
that's going to be up to the DOB. And but certainly the idea of concrete is something I don't think we're objecting to, right? I mean, unless somebody has another idea. Okay, so that's fine. And then there was the other elevation, the last elevation with the infill, right? Just to go over, yeah, that one.
You're getting rid of the glass block.
Yeah, getting rid of glass block.
Mhm.
Okay,
End of it here.
okay, end of there, yes.
That and your macrame.
All right.
Plants.
So any other comments or questions before? Do I hear a motion to vote on this? Basically, it would be the custom panel color for the perforated panels at the bulkhead and the alabaster trims for the horizontal. We're taking the windows as they recommended in the concrete pad for the entry. And I think that is all that needs to be voted on. Is that correct? The new storefront window, the concrete, the glass block replacement and the mechanical enclosures. There are 4 elements, right? And are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I forgot if I have to make a motion to vote.
Yeah, so we just need someone to make a motion in a
Yes, we need
second.
a motion to second the vote.
I will second.
Great.
Okay, so just for the minutes, Mark made the motion and Catherine with the second.
All right, so all in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, it's unanimous. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is great. Do you want to keep these or do I take them?
I don't. You want to say the other?
For I think we should keep one as a record, so we'll keep one.
Oh,
The pictures.
Oh, yeah, the samples.
I mean, the pictures refer to the samples, so.
The samples are important. Yes, absolutely. I don't think we need those because those aren't part of the new work.
There, that's the color that they're matching,
Well,
the Montgomery yellow or white.
well, all right. So the putty, first of all,
Yeah.
actually, that's true. One of these is not correct because it's a custom color. And this is not a custom color.
They weren't able to
Right.
produce.
So the alabaster is what we keep
And this one.
and that one.
Those two.
Right. So that one doesn't mean
Okay.
anything.
Great.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for marking it. All right. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Robert, thank you.
Thanks for your
Thanks for your
work.
time this evening.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
good luck getting those air handling units.
Good night.
Street tech, and they needed to order them like 6 months ago.
Okay, so the other applicant for the Woodland Street home is apparently not showing up tonight, right?
They are adjourned.
They are
For this
adjourned,
evening.
and we don't know if they'll come back again next month or not. Did they?
We've not yet heard. I don't believe they indicated
Okay.
what their plans were.
So in about 20 minutes remaining, if I could just say on the agenda, we had to review the objectives from 2023. But before I get into that, I'd just like to share some news. I'm starting Fire Academy training classes. And so for the next two meetings, April and May, I won't be able to attend. Mark will be the acting chair. And also, yes. And then also there's an April, it's a Wednesday, it's an April 10th, Stuart or Maddie, for the trustees meeting.
Yes,
Work session.
that's the one.
Trustees meeting, yeah, so that's something I did last year, and Mark will be attending that. Anybody else is welcome to accompany him to it. And it's a chance for LPC, HPC, as well as the other boards to just tell the trustees what kind of things they want to, focus on for the rest of the year. And unless somebody else, and I think basically that's why I'm talking about the objectives, and if we can, pick something between now and then to just relate to them as something that we want to focus on besides continuing business. I remember, Steve, there was something you mentioned about last meeting that you might be interested in providing, and now I forgot.
I dusted off a presentation we gave about a year or two ago to the committee on the process of getting someone declared landmark status, and both at the local, state, and national level. And there is a group in New York State that walks people through the process, and will accompany people through the process. And it doesn't cost you anything. It's funded by a Preservationist Society that will actually come out and talk to you about your property, tell you how to take pictures. There was also an interesting, they set up a site that was, I can't remember who sponsored it, but did a very interesting information on what constitutes a house being eligible or a property being eligible. And a property may have been transformed, but if there are still elements of it that preserve a character from a period, that kind of property could still be eligible. You could, however, have a 1850s home that's been immaculately updated, but it's been so changed that, it's lost its statement about the period or time. So it's quite interesting. So I started reassembling that. Maybe I got a bit further. I started putting it into a PowerPoint. So it might be interesting if you're interested for me to present something like that, either at the next meeting or it's a meeting where maybe the agenda isn't so full.
I think it's great. I mean, it doesn't exist now on the website, as I recall. We have reference guides that are linked, but anything we can do, especially tailors it and encourages people, I think it's a wonderful idea. So that would be a great topic for next month. And then if you can send me a link to it. Bye, Stuart.
Okay, the certificate tomorrow.
Great. Okay, so that would be terrific.
Kind of talk about how we might want to tailor this, or if you want to put it on the website.
Well, I think anything we do would be preferable to get on the website.
I think it would be good because maybe it'll help applicants to have an idea of sort of what we're looking for and help them, cater what they're doing and to some extent their presentation. When I looked at it, the process can be elements of it, but onerous, there's a lot of steps. But this organization will walk people.
What's the name of the organization again?
It's a not-for-profit foundation here in New York State. I'll have to look it up.
Okay, well, terrific. That's just a great idea. So that would be great to go over next month, unless the agenda is filled with too many other projects. And
so, it's, you know, obviously there's therapists. Stuff first.
yeah, but that would be great. And I think the idea would be certainly to try to get it on the website. And that probably, from my experience uploading the structural guidelines, the historic landmark guide book that we had, that requires the trustees' approval. And so it's probably many months away, because even if we were ready now to upload it, we'd have to arrange to get it on the agenda for a trustees meeting. So it's not like it can be done tomorrow.
Chair, if I could, I think it's a little different. I think
Is
the,
it?
the structural guides was because it was a village-owned document.
Huh?
I think certainly if Mr. Casey and the HPC want to, put a presentation on the YouTube channel, and then we can link to it on the website, I would not believe that the trustees would have anything to say about it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's terrific. So that's great. We could get it done. That would be a terrific thing to focus on. And by the way, speaking of the website, we also chatted a little bit last week that unfortunately the village started looking into the web analytics about, do you think there'll be any more information that we could look at in the coming months?
I think that what Jamie captured for you was just for the month of January, if
Right.
I'm correct. I could ask her to do it month by month
Well,
going
is it-
forward, but I don't know if any further deeper diving insights are going to be available, because it's just sort of the one click through.
Well, what I thought would be interesting is to get it for 2023,
Mhm.
a whole year. And, if it's at month by month, I think that could be interesting, but if it's a lot of trouble, why bother? I mean, it's basically just last year, and if it's even possible to do it for 22, just to see, do people come, how many people visit our website? Is there a trough during the year and then, a peak? That would only be interesting, I guess, to talk about if we saw it broken down by month, but I don't know if necessarily that matters. But generally, what parts of the website seem to be popular? And, maybe we can glean something from that. And there are other sections maybe that aren't being looked at that might surprise us. And what could we do maybe to foster more interest in those sections of the website?
My recollection was that you could only get the click through to the HPC page proper and not to the individual documents, but I have to go back and revisit her
Well, that
email
would be
from when we
great.
did it in
I
January.
think you can, I mean, from my own experience with mine,
Right.
past office, I think you can, but that would be great if she could look into that.
Mhm.
And then one other thing is the meeting minutes, which I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do to help foster that, because I think when I looked, the last meeting minutes adopted was from June 2023. And I don't know if we're maybe possibly the stepchild, because I think the BAR has got updated through December of 23 and adopted.
I'll have to speak
You
with
seem to
Stuart.
be-
I don't know
I
the
think we're
answer.
trailing, let me put it that way. And the legislative work sessions are all up to date. So what I saw, it looks like HPC is like maybe the lowest on the priority list for doing meeting notes. But it doesn't, I know we certainly, it would certainly be better if we could be a bit more up to date than what we are now. In fact, I'm not even sure when 23 will be closed out. If we're already.
I'll have to check with Stuart, Chair. I don't know the
Yeah,
answer.
okay, great. Is there anything that, well, if there's something I could do to help that along, let me know, I guess.
Will do.
All right. Well, we just have a few more minutes. I'm wondering if you wanted to chat more about anything else coming. Oh, there was something else, I'm sorry, that I wanted to just tell you about. Scott, does anyone, do people know Scott Craven? He's a really wonderful guy. He works at the library. He was the former chief of police of Ossining. And do you know Scott?
I know Scott well. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was the
so-
former police captain.
Right. And what's his title at the library? He's like an archivist or historian?
He's a records clerk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very knowledgeable of local history. He's written actually some books that are in the library to take out. I just finished a book he did with another person on the history of Croton Point, which
Wow,
was
nice.
yeah, it was interesting, Isaac. And so anyways, he had just when I went to start trying to do some research on the library, one of the ideas I had, and it's sort of referenced in the objectives, is maybe we start some section of the website that talks about projects that we had that we lost. And you may all be familiar with the library. It originally was designed, it's the second library. The first one was on Main Street. That was not much of a substantial building. Then we had this sort of Mediterranean-esque terracotta roofed library that was demolished in the sixties to make way for the library. Some of you, or certainly Maddie would know, had existed up until, what was it, 10 years ago when the new library was built? So it was a remarkable building. It was essentially where the new library is. And because we didn't have landmarks back then, because I'm sure if we did, it wouldn't have been demolished. And one of the things I was trying to talk to him about when I first approached him months and months ago was, was there any kind of detailed records of what happened during the study to decide that the building should be demolished? And this nondescript 60s box was put up. And we didn't really get very far in that, other than apparently there's some memo in the file somewhere about how they decided there was too much work to retrofit the building. And then they just decided, let's tear it down. And it was cheaper to build a new building. And it's kind of a shame. And I think it's sort of like what we talked about with the Virium building near the waterfront, where the chimneys and the dormers were taken down. I think if that building were coming up for review now, those things would still be there. So the idea would be maybe we have something in the web in our website as a link to projects we had that just no longer exist, and try to give it a recap about it, and try to toot our own horn about the importance or the relevance of HPC as a result. In doing that, so that's one reason I'm bringing this up. The other reason I brought it up is it made him think about having some kind of regular meeting with other people involved with historic preservation in Ossining. And he had a meeting on that I went to, invited me to, on February 10th in the library. And we had Doug Kirshen from the Jug Tavern, Martha, whose last name I don't recall, who does Martha's Sparta Speaks.
Martha Masidi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Amy, who's a new and only employee of the Sing Sing Museum. Historical Museum was there. We had a man named Gareth who had done a book on grindstones and millstones, the history of these in Ossining. And apparently there's a lot of information about those. And Jane, I think, who was another local historian, and Dana White, our trustee, Joyce Cole, who used to be an HPC member, is our historian in the village, myself, and another Joyce. I'm sorry, there were two Joyces, one of which I don't recall what she did. And then the town historian for Ossining, Caroline. So it was basically just a big conversation about, knowing who's out there in the village to talk to for more information. Nothing was concluded in any event, just a get together. And Scott said that, he thought it would be worthwhile to try to do this again, maybe with a structured agenda. So just FYI, that's what happened. And I certainly let anybody know if we're going to have another meeting, and it'd be great. Anybody who'd be interested in coming probably would be welcome to come. And having said that, is there anything else anybody would like to bring up for some new ideas on what to focus on for the rest of the year, if possible? If there isn't, that's okay. And if there is, just bring it up next month. But that's a great idea about the application process.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I think we can hear a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And second?
Second.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Casey and Mr. Sia.
It's adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Good night, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you.
Take care, Isaac.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Thank you.